Today I'm going to share with you the calls. On the 17th of November, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from the hospital. They were going to start ventilating her. Her body just couldn't take it anymore. They needed my permission, and I said yes. They told me to stay close to the phone. It wasn't going to be long after that. The worst part was that with COVID, I almost couldn't even go and be part of those last hours. My life was going to change forever. I grabbed a wedding picture and held it all the rest of that night. I prayed it would be over then. I picked up the phone when it rang one time, and it was my brother-in-law. I talked to my sister-in-law about how we were so scared. I know they were trying to hold it together for me. I think what I was most scared of was being without her. I got a call about 11 in the morning to come in. She had passed. I ran into the wall with my scooter because I was so sad. The hole I made is still there. I think I just kept repeating, "No, no," the whole time. Yelling, crying out. I called my brother. I remember telling him I lost my best friend. I didn't know at that time what he was dealing with that day too. For a long time after that, I didn't even go back into the room where I took that call. I didn't think about it. Why? I just didn't want to be there. That's where my heart had broken. Finally, somehow I got in the van and drove to the hospital. There was no way around it. I had to go. I had to deal with it. I just grabbed my coat and went. It was breezy and drizzly a little bit. It took about a half hour to get there. I cried the whole way in. I didn't know how I even saw the road. I think I just leaned on the steering wheel and stared at the lines on the road. Now I didn't see what was ahead. If somebody would have been in front of me, I would have never stopped. I guess God was with me on that drive. I even got there as a fog. Hospital let us go to see her, but we couldn't go in the room. We were to be in the hallway outside the room. They didn't let us do that. Pastor Kosher came in first. My brother called her, but she had already left. She said, "I don't care what they say about COVID. I'm going with you either way." David's family came too. Then Donna and Linda and Bonnie, Barry's wife. Her brother Barry was having serious issues of his own. He couldn't be there. In fact, they didn't even tell him about his sister that day, because they thought it would be good for him. The doctor told us first what happened. He said, when they intubated her, when they inserted the tube, our heart just couldn't take it. We weren't allowed to enter, only just outside the room in the hall, and looked through the glass to see her. The medical staff had already taken care of all the tubes and other equipment, so they didn't have to see that. That was a blessing in a way. The 3 hours I sat there, I kept looking for her to look at me and smile like she always did. I had no sense of time. I didn't even realize I was there that long. I thought my life was over. One nurse did make sure to tell me she had been there the whole time. So one of those fellow nurses had been there with her when she died. That did make me feel a little better. I wish I remembered this nurse's name, but everything was a fog at that time. We sat there until about 3 o'clock p.m. They let me stay as long as I wanted because I was just in shock at that time. I understood that. I had to stay. Pastor stayed as long as she could. Then her phone started lighting up because there were other people she had to deal with, too. Family members who had also passed away from COVID. Finally, Don gave me a nudge and saying it was time. He said I could go back to their house for a while after I went to make the funeral arrangements. I stayed with Don and Linda for a few hours. They were concerned about me going home by myself, but at that time that was all I wanted. I remember somebody asking me if I wanted somebody to drive me home. Not much for my brother. He had to come up with an excuse. Tell me it wasn't because of COVID. It was because of COVID and he couldn't come up to get me. He didn't tell me what was happening with our mother. They knew not to do that. Actually, I didn't want anybody to go home with me. I just wanted to go home and deal with myself that night. I was lost. I got home. The quiet. They would call from the nursing home every day. I wouldn't have that anymore. This was not happening. This was not real. The first night it was like it didn't happen. So we sat the first night meowing in the kitchen, waiting for Debbie to come back. I could stay in the bed the next day, but I knew she wouldn't want me to do that. My parents wouldn't want that either.